Good evening, tubers. T.O. here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you again tonight to talk a little bit more about Hubbard Creek. That's right, we're going to finish up Hubbard Creek tonight. This lake has been absolutely amazing. If you guys have not seen the videos for this yet, for the first breakdown we did for the Google Earth, you got to go check it out. This is one of the few lakes where it actually had so much of a drought that pretty much we were able to find all kinds of offshore golden nuggets and gems, whatever you want to call it. I want to go fish this thing just based on the breakdown. Anyways, tonight we're going to finish it up. We're going to finish up on the Google Earth side, and then I'm going to circle back probably later on and just talk to you a little bit maybe about the contour stuff, but I don't think we need it because like I said, we have found plenty of stuff to fish just based on Google Earth. Stick around. I know you're going to love it. Here we go. All right, so here we are back on Hubbard Creek. If you missed the last video, I'll put a link up to the top so you can see that. Or you can always go out and look at our lake breakdown channel list that's out there, or playlist, sorry, that's out there. And you can see several different lakes we broke down, not just Hubbard Creek, but I think we're up to 70, almost 80 different lakes that I broke down so far. So got a lot of them out there, got a lot of them out there on the site too, simplisticfishing.com. You can purchase them. I put them on a card for you. You put them in the graph, basically import in the waypoints, or I can email you the digital files as well, and you can put them on an SD card and import them yourself as well. So a couple different ways that you can get them. Let's talk a little bit about how I broke this lake down. Now, again, on the first video, we started up here by the dam. We went all the way back in here. We talked about all this area. We came around this point. We talked about all of this, and we stopped right here just north of Highway 180. So right in here. So that's where we're going to start today. Just as far as the way that we broke this lake down, you can see over here on the left-hand side, I've got ponds, ditches, channels, rock. There was a lot of different rock on this lake, not necessarily up on the shoreline, but rock out in, basically out in the middle of the lake. Super cool map on this one, the way that the years worked out. You've also got different boat ramps. So if you've heard me talk about the boat ramp pattern, that's a really good pattern to run late spring, even a summertime pattern on those deeper ramps. So if you wanted to run the ramp pattern, you got plenty of ramps that you could fish here. And I imagine they're going to be somewhat productive because they're not overcrowding the lake with a bunch of ramps. They're pretty selective. So then when you get into the certain ones, that don't have as much activity, those are probably going to be the ones that are going to be really good for you. You've also got different types of cover that's out here. So we've got bridges, ledges, stick-ups, just all kinds of things that I didn't even know what it was. I'd say just check, just something that looks different than everything else in the area. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's finish off this lake. If we can tonight, we'll finish it off. If not, I'll come back and we'll finish up some more. But let's start right here at Highway 180. And I'm going to draw this back. And when I draw it back to 2014, it's a little bit blurry here. You can see there's actually a big pond there that I missed originally, but let's put it to 2015. And that's the best image that I could find. So I talked to you guys about this roadbed last time. We talked about this bridge being really good, this underwater bridge over here. You've got rock out here. You've got the underwater pillars. You've got the major creek channel coming through there. Lots of good stuff going on around that creek channel for sure. So make sure to take advantage of those tracks that are out there. Let's swing over here to the left side. Let's keep moving down. I just mentioned that pond there. I don't see anything crazy about that pond, but it does have some pretty good breaks in here. So you may want to check that pond out. What I'm going to do is I will go ahead, hopefully, I'm going to go ahead and add pond here. If you've already got the card, obviously this wouldn't be on it, but if you haven't got the card yet, this will actually show up now. So let's go ahead and just add it here while we're talking. That'll make it easy. We're going to make this a pond. And usually when I'm fishing these pond dams, the things that I'm looking for is the opening. You guys have heard me talk about that a lot before. I'm looking at where that opening is. The opening in here looks like it's going to be right in this area right here. So you'll want to try to kind of focus on that area. The other spot is look for your bigger breaks in this pond dam, when we're looking at it on Google Earth. And obviously the bigger ledges and the bigger breaks were more off of this side. But I would focus in here, and then I would look right around in here off of those ledges. But this pond dam doesn't set up that good for me, so I wouldn't spend too much time. Maybe just go in there, scan around, see if you see anything. If you do, obviously stop. If you don't, move on. So let's go ahead and let's just start going down this lake. Obviously, here is a public ramp. Let me show you where I'm at again. I'm right here. We started north of 180. If I draw the lake all the way back, you can see I'm way down here, right in this area. So let's go ahead and come on back in. Here's a boat ramp here. You've also got some riprap that comes around this point. Now, these are going to be obvious things that you'll see. You'll see when the water's up. If I draw this up to 2019, there's some rock there, but you don't realize how much rock is actually there until you pull that back to 2015. It comes out quite a ways. You've also got a little bit more rock right in here. We talked about that pond. We've got some more just kind of offshore stuff as we move our way down from that ramp. Just some offshore little rock piles right in here. This stuff can be good, especially when you get just a little bit off the shore. So everybody else is coming down here and fishing the shoreline, and you pull in here and you fish way out. You're not way out here, but you're a ways out. And it's funny because basically where their boat was setting, or just to the, just to the side of where their boat was setting, is probably the magical spot, and they're going right past it and casting away from it instead of right on it. So take advantage of those little rock piles. Those things can be really, really good. As we move down here, there was a ramp here, but notice there's no concrete or anything. So I didn't put anything there as far as the ramps go. There are a couple different piles out here as well. So I'm going to zoom back out a little bit, show you where I'm at. There's 180. I'm going to come back. Those piles are right in here. And then if we move on back into this cove, there's not too much back here, but a couple different things. There's a nice little point here with some good rock around it. So again, when the water's up, that's going to be a pretty decent little point to be fishing right in there. You've also got a pretty good little ramp that's right in here as well. That looks good. So moving that back, you can see the ramp that's in there. And then, just really not too much else that I saw back in there, but definitely those two spots, I would focus on those. If I'm going in the back of that cove, those are the two things that I'm going to fish for sure. And I'm also going to fish these little debris piles and little rock piles that are out here all by themselves. Those just look really good. You also have some rock over here along the shoreline. Now, obviously, this is looking fairly shallow. You've got some more rock all around it here. Let me zoom in and I'll show you. This rock here goes pretty far out, really, when you look at where it is now compared to when the water's up. So when the water's up, that rock is way out here. So that's pretty far out. I mean, that dock is out to there. So you've got some decent depth that's got to be in here. So I would definitely check right there. I also like the fact that that's a point. So when you look at it from kind of the broader view and you pull it back, you realize, oh yeah, that's right on the edge of a point. So that could be very good. Now, the other thing to pay attention to is this creek channel, right? As we're talking about this little breakdown, this creek channel is going on right here outside of us, right outside of where we're talking about. And so I'm thinking that we need to be looking really closely right around in here, right where it makes this bend when I pull this down, and let's see if we see anything in there. So moving down here, we see the rock, right? We see these little bends. The bends can always be good. I don't see a lot of debris or washout around these bends, but the bends can definitely be good. But the nice thing right here is this dock. So of all the docks to fish, if I wasn't going to fish, all the docks, maybe I just wanted to fish a few of them, for sure I'm fishing this dock right here. There's no doubt that dock right there is going to be a dock that I'm going to fish. I'm also going to come over here because there's a pretty good little rock pile over here. You can see, and there's a lot of a cover around it and stuff. So hopefully, and I'm not sure because I've never been to this lake, but I would imagine that some of that, remnants of that, is still under the water. So right here, just a real good hard spot right in front of this dock, a little ways out, but a real good hard spot right there with some pretty good rock. And then you got all this different cover and stuff that's right in here, this vegetation. You've also, when you move up in here, you got a few different ramps you can fish. These are going to be pretty shallow as well, but it's really hard to tell because this lake was so low when we have this image that really, I mean, when you look at it in, say, 2019, this looks like fairly deep water that's out here. And we'll take a look at it when we look at it on the Navionics side to see if we can find any more offshore stuff. But anyways, it'd be interesting to know, to compare it. Maybe we'll do that on the next video. We'll come back and we'll compare these depths so we can really kind of get a better idea of how deep we're talking. But if you've got all these docks, you've got to have some pretty good depth that's out here in this area. All right, so I'm going to keep moving back. I talked about the ramps up there. There was a little bit of more rock up in here as well. So you can see if you're getting up, in the springtime, something like that, maybe getting in the backs of these things and really focusing on the hard stuff. So, you're focused on the rocks that are around these docks. You're focusing on those ramps and things like that. Because if we move the water up again, that rock is a little bit further out. That ramp comes way out into that area. So you can just see it's a lot of good stuff to fish back around in that again. And then again, I think you got decent depth back there. Heck, I hope so. Um, 2015 was just a really bad drought year for this lake. As we move down, another prime dock that you want to be fishing. Let me pull this back, show you where I'm at as we're coming down here. We're going to focus really heavily on this dock. I definitely would, right in this area. You got good rock here. And again, you got that creek channel that's coming right up against it and swinging up against it. So they would love to sit up underneath that dock and just chow down. So that is a great dock to go look at. As we move a little bit further down here, again, creek channels close by. You got some hard area right in here. You may even have a little brush pile right there. It's kind of hard to tell if that was brush pile or what that was. But anyways, right in this area, that's going to be a prime area as well. Very good hot spot, somewhere you want to really slow down, take your time, because you're probably going to be in an area where some fish are going to be located. As we move a little bit further down here, just some more rock, around the bank line. You've got this brushy creek that we've been following this whole time, kind of moving off here to the side. You've got more rock around here around the point, and then some additional rock back here behind this dock. Let me pull back just a little bit, show you guys where I'm at. So you can see I'm making my way down here. So I'm going to come down. I'm just south of the Sandy Creek RV Mobile Park. That's where we're going to go into this cove and talk about what's in there. We've got some rock out here. Got some scattered rock in here too. Maybe you just go down this bank line with some crankbaits, things like that, just banging off the rock, see what you can find. Moving down here, as we move further back into this cove, we've got some really old boat ramps. You guys have heard me talk about these things. These can be gems. So make sure to fish those old boat ramps. Also, it's a little bit more scattered rock back in here. I probably wouldn't spend too much time back in this area. I don't see too much. There's some scattered rock back here, a ramp, but just not a lot going on back in this section. But maybe starting right here and moving my way up, just fishing the ramps and fishing the rock. But I guess really when I think about it, if I was really limited on time, I'm focusing more out here, right around where this creek channel is. And then maybe if it's springtime and they're spawning, I'm going to get more back up in this area. All right, so let's keep moving down. We've got another good little creek channel that's out here. You can see it just kind of zooming through everything. Don't see too much out here on that creek channel, except for right in here. There's a pretty good little pile that's right there. My icon's in the way, but you could focus right there, and that pile's right on a bend. So that could be like a man-made pile that they threw out there, intentionally, and they knew right where that bend was. As we move further down, we've got a little pond here as well. So you can see here, and a pretty decent little, like almost ledge looking thing around this pond. I can't tell. This must be the pond dam right here, the old pond dam. Kind of hard to tell. I would scan around here, around this area, and maybe come in here and scan where that pond is, but definitely right around this area, right? This ridge that's right behind that pond dam. You've also got what looks like an old fence that's out here. You can see the remnants of it. I put debris here. This is some concrete, but if you look right above where I put debris, notice how that makes almost a straight line. So it kind of, it's scattered. It's been broken up, but it looks like an old pen or something like that could be out there. Those fish like to relate to stuff like that, especially when they make straight lines. This area right here, if I zoom in right here on the corner, looks like there could be some brush in here. That could be a good crappie spot. That could be a good bass spot. I could see them locating up there really good. They got a really good angle there with the 90-degree angles in that corner. That could be a good spot for sure. Let's go ahead and mark that. I missed that the first time, but I knew I was going to miss stuff on this lake as I went through it, just because, we're able to pull the water down so much and see so much on this lake. I mean, we can really get detailed on this one. As we move further down, I talked about that pile that was out there. Let's come back over here. Here's another pond that's in here. So again, focus on that opening. When there's a really good opening, those are always the good areas to focus on. If I pull the water back up, you can see here that opening is going to be pretty obvious to you. So really fish around this area right in here. Just I'm telling you, that's going to be the good spot to fish. Also, the ramp right here is good. It's pretty close to that pond dam, and it doesn't look like it gets much activity at all. And then really just kind of following this creek channel back. Again, here's another dock, right? Money dock right on the side of the creek channel. That's going to be a really prime dock to fish. You've got some good rock around it. As we move further down the creek channel, I'll show you where I'm at here. I'm moving further down. I'm almost down to the end of this thing. As I move further down to this creek channel and get back in here, there's some interesting stuff back here. It's just so wild to see the bottom of the lake like this. But you do have some like old ponds that look like it have some debris around them, so maybe some piles. There's some debris right in here as well. So you can check that out. There's some rock back here behind this dock. What appears to be some brush piles. I can't tell if that's what they are or not, but it looks like there could be 3 different brush piles here. And they're really close to that creek channel as well, and they look like they're pretty strategically placed. So I think that's 3 different brush piles. So go back there and scan around there. That could be good. You got some rock up here around these docks too to check out. And then last but not least, really you've got a little ditch in here. And if I zoom in, you'll see it. You can see that it's created this nice little ditch that's just right in this area. And these are the things, these are the areas that a lot of people don't pay any attention to. You'd have no idea that that was there unless you were scanning around a ton and figured it out. But those bass love to go over here and get in these little ditches, especially when you get back in here in these shallow flats and stuff like that, and you have these little ditches. Here's another one of them over here. And they'll relate to this stuff, but it's not very obvious at all. So they're always hard spots to find. But obviously, when you get Google Earth and it shows you exactly where that ditch is, that makes it way easier. Let's pull this up to 2019, and you can see you'd have no clue there was a ditch that was out here, or that there was a ditch out here as well. So just some really good stuff to take a look at. You definitely want to go scan around those ditches. Those can be really good, productive areas to fish. As we move further over here, we're going to go a little bit down. We're going to go down to the very bottom of the lake, and then we'll come back up. Let's stay on the left side so I don't get confused here. But as we move down here, got a lot of creek channel going on over there. We're going to talk about those points here in a minute. Let's focus here on this side. Right here, it looks like you got some trees, underwater trees at least, or underwater bushes, but you can see they're creating shade from the sun, which means that they've got some pretty good depth to them, or I guess they're just pretty big. So let's move this to 2019. And as we move up, you can see these stick-ups are just right up here on the edge of the water, right along that creek channel. Well, that makes them really, really good. I guarantee that's a good spot to look for some fish and to find some fish. And then moving down here, down the left, just not much else going on other than that creek channel that's going through here. And then we get back to the back. So following the creek channel up, again, you're wanting to focus on the turns. If you're way back in here, you're focusing on these turns. Anywhere they make a turn, you want to focus on the turns especially. And then when you see them have like an intersection where they meet, say like right in here, this could be a really good area to look at as well. Let's pull this down to 2015. And you can see there's a lot of cover around this area as well. But here's that little intersection. So like right there off the edge of that point, they like to set up in areas like that for sure. So go check that out. Again, just looking at the turns and the bends and all of that stuff. Lots of good stuff out there. And then as we get over here, I've got some rock that's marked right off the edge of this point. So you got a little point here, got some really good rock going on here. But the key thing here again, and I know I keep harping on it, you've got that creek channel, right? So that creek channel is everything. And so when you find things close to that creek channel, those are going to be your hot spots to look at. The edge of this little island here is going to be good. If we move it up to 2019, you'll see the creek channel looks a little bit further out. But it's not too far out. It's close enough to where they're going to pull up here and relate to this stuff. You've also got some really decent little ledges that are going on out here. So probably some pretty good depth changes with some pretty hard areas and some pretty good rock and stuff like that over that spot. Now, as we move back up here, we're getting back up to 180. I didn't see much in that area. Again, let's pull this up because you almost get confused when you're looking at when the water's down as far as where's the lake actually at. We're going to come back up here. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the stuff that's out here. We talked about this left side before, but now we're going to really focus on the right side. So I'm going to draw this back to 2015 again. And when I get back in here, Look at all this good stuff that's coming up in here. So we get up here on the right side. We talked about this right in here last time, right? That bend hitting that little rocky area right in there, that's juicy right there. That's like really, really good. Those are the kind of spots you really want to find. You've also got a really good area over here. If you look, there's just a lot of dirt, not a lot going on, not a lot for them to relate to. And then all of a sudden, just out here in the middle, basically where all this water is kind of being funneled through on the backside of this island, you've got some rock going on right in here. So I could see them setting up on this side of the island for sure, and really picking off shad and stuff like that. But it's really good area for them as well because you've got all that rock that's in that spot. So again, if I pull this up, 2019, you're not even going to know all that stuff was going on out there, but it's going on out there, and those are definitely spots you want to go look at. So as we move a little bit further up here, I'm going to get a little bit further out. I missed a little rock pile there, so you could check out that rock pile. This one's a little bit bigger, so you could look at that, and you kind of look at the stuff around it. You got some pretty good rock going on right in here. And then right in here, you got that little pinch point, almost like a little ditch that's going on right in here. So you definitely want to go look at that, scan around, see if you can find anything right around in this area. You know, I see Hubbard Creek as being a really good offshore lake. I could be completely wrong, but I'm just telling you by the basis, but just based on what I'm able to see from all of these Google Earth images, this thing has a ton of stuff that you could go fish offshore. And I would definitely put all of my attention into offshore fishing if I was going out here. And I'm not saying get way out there, but all of these things we have marked here, they can't be that deep of water. So they're going to be great places to find fish, and they're isolated places. I mean, it just sets up perfectly. Let's look at right here. We got all this, basically dirt, nothing, and then boom, rocks. So that's where the fish are going to be. So they're going to be easier to locate. So you got some pretty good rock in here. There's also a little bit of rock down in here around the shoreline. Looks like that I missed. You could check out possibly an old boat ramp in there. As we move a little bit further up here, we've got some more rock. And right here, it looks like there could be some timber mixed in with that rock. It was hard to tell. I didn't see a lot of different timber, but if you look really closely, you can see the little vertical lines there, which almost makes you think that there's some timber there or something like that. As I move a little bit further up here and we get around this little point, this looks really good. It's a little underwater point that comes out, and right off the edge of the point, obviously you've got a pretty decent ledge, so you've got some pretty good depth change going on right in here, but you've got really good rock all around here. And again, you've got some standing timber. And so the standing timber mixed along with the rock, that makes it really, really good. And then now you're also talking about it being an underwater point. So you're not going to know that stuff is out there, but that right in there is a really good spot to put a lot of attention to. Moving back here, as we move further back, I just showed you where the lake was up. Also out here, you've got a pretty decent little rock ledge that's going on. If the water's up, you're probably not going to pay too much attention to that being there, but there's some really good rock that's around here. This is a really good point that comes out. It's probably a community spot, but I would definitely look in that spot and see what you can find over there. As we move further up, we're getting up here. Let me zoom back, show you where I'm at. I'm getting pretty close to the dam. Move further up, we got some pretty good boulders out here off of this point. Those look good. We got another ramp that's in here. Moving on up here, you've got this little point here that comes out that has some really good hard spots that are right in this area. You've got some more rock over here right around this little point. Then as I get out here and I get more around the main lake point right in here, there's some pretty decent little rock, little points that come out. So you got one right here, and you can kind of follow it, just kind of follow it up. And you're probably going to think, man, this feels really weird. I feel like I'm fishing out in the middle of the lake. Well, you are fishing in the middle of the lake, but you're fishing cover, and that is awesome. And you really want to take advantage of it. So you can literally set your boat up and just follow that little rock line that's there, and you're going to be productive. You're going to find fish for sure. Those are great places to look. It goes all the way up until that third rock point. So you can almost just line yourself up and just fish from that rock to that rock, and that's going to keep you right on the hard spot of that point. So let's keep moving back. We're over here almost just right by the dam, just on the other side of it. This looked interesting. I can't tell what it is. I don't know if it's rock or just a high spot or what it is, but it's different, right? It's different than everything else around it. There's a lot of dirt in this area and things like that, so not a lot of stuff for them to relate to. So you definitely want to go over here and look in this area, because that could be the one spot that they can actually relate to something there, get some cover, get some shade, stuff like that. Also right here, you've got a pretty decent little pond dam. Again, fish in the opening, but also go back here and fish this back where it says there's debris back here. I can't tell if these are large rocks, tires, what they are, but there's something back here, and I could see them setting up on those. And also, again, that's a good area for them to get some shade. When the water's up, they can use that pond dam to give them some shade. So that's always a good thing as well. Moving this back to 2015. We're going to keep going back a little bit further, staying on this left-hand side, and we're going to wrap this thing up here in a minute because we're going to be back up to the dam. But we got another ramp that's over here. You can check out another one right in here. Pretty decent little creek channel that goes all the way back in here. So if you really wanted to fish the creek channel, or maybe you're a kayaker and you want to get back in some of these big flats, you could really focus all of your attention just fishing right around the creek channels. Focus on the bends, and then anywhere where it touches something, obviously you want to look at, and obviously the intersections. So here you've got an intersection, and then here you've got it touching something, right? Right here off this point, you've got a little old ramp or something that's there, and then you've got a boat dock that's right there. So that boat dock is going to be really key. You definitely want to focus in on that. Obviously not when the water is this low, but when the water's at normal pool, that's going to be a good boat dock to check out. You want to get out there and focus right around this area. That boat dock's actually gone now, but you can see there's some remnants of it left. So focus right in here. And I'm telling you, that's going to be a good spot. All right, so we're going to go back. We're going to move on up that creek channel. We're going to focus more on the right side now. We've got some rock that's out here around this dock. I like it because it's right here off the point, right? So it's going to give them, they got good cover here. They got good rock. They're going to like that area. There's an old pond over here. This one doesn't look as good, but it does have a pretty good pond dam right here off this side. So if you come up here, you could definitely fish the outside and probably fish some, catch some fish. But you guys have heard me talk about it a lot. But get out here and get back behind it and cast out this way towards the main lake and fish that pond dam, or get parallel to it, set your boat up over here or over here on this side and cast this way along the edge of that pond dam. And that's going to give you a little bit more productive cast. And I think you guys will be able to catch some more fish off those pond dams. So you'll really see what I'm talking about, that those pond dams in Texas can be fire. They're just like the ramps. The pond dams and the ramps are really good patterns to run, especially come summertime. All right, so we got more ramps here. Got some creek channels that go back in here. This one makes a pretty tight little bend back in this side. If you zoom back in here, there's just not a lot going on back in here. A lot of cover, or a lot of trees and stuff like that, but not a lot going on here. But this spot right here just piques my interest a little bit. You got some hard spots in here, and you got a really good turn going on there. And again, if you pull it up to 2019, you can see what this would look like. All right, so I'm going to pull that back to 2015. Let's keep going. I think we're going to be able to wrap this thing up without having to do another video pretty easily. So let's look over here. We've got one right over here, another pond. This is a pretty decent looking pond, but nothing real crazy here, right? Those other ones had those pond dams, or they had the opening where you could really focus in on the opening, but you still don't want to mark them out. You basically just want to come over here and scan around them and see what you can find. My guess, if I'm looking at this pond dam and I'm thinking, where would I find fish on this pond? For me, this looks like the deeper edge or the deeper side of the pond. So I'm probably going to fish right in here, or at least scan right in here, right in this area, and see what I can find. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see there may be some rock or something right there on the edge of that. But anyways, you can tell that that's the deeper side of the pond, so that's definitely what I would fish. Now, as we move further over here, we've got some rock off this point. This looks good. Got a little underwater island out here with some hard spots on it. Again, surrounded by a bunch of dirt, really nothing else, but then you got a nice little high spot. These can be little gems as well. This pond actually has that little opening, so you want to fish that little opening, but also find the high side, find the deep side of the dam, and focus on that as well. You can tell this is the shallow side because there's really no break there. But there's that break right in here. So you could focus right in here and definitely focus right where that rock is right there. All right, I'm going to zoom back out here. We're going to look at what we have over here. I'm going to show you guys again I love doing this. Look at 2019. Got no idea there's a pond dam out here. You don't know there's a rock pile out there either. There's that hump that's way out there. You can see we got some rock that's out here. That looked like it was in the middle of the lake. On this image, it looks like it's just right off the shore, but you've got some pretty good little rock area right in there. You got some more rock going on right in here. And these look like little mini ledges, like they come out pretty flat and then all of a sudden they start to drop. And as they drop, that's when you hit that harder area. So you definitely want to fish in those harder spots. Don't waste a lot of time in this muddy stuff. You're not going to have a lot of success there. You got a little bit more of it coming on right here too. The problem with some of this stuff is I have a hard time telling if it's really rock or if it's just broken up dirt. This actually looks like it could be rocks. You actually have two spots here. I'm going to go ahead and mark these for you guys. So we got rock here. We also have some additional rock that's out here. So if I'm fishing this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay on the outside, right? Instead of coming up here and pounding this bank line, which is right here. Sure, this will make it easier. Instead of pounding this bank line right here, which most people are going to do, I'm going to come further out here and I'm going to fish as if that was my bank line. So I'm going to fish it right in through here and just kind of work my way off the outside edge of that. Now, if I have these points, that's going to keep me pretty well lined up with where I need to be. And I'll know that I'm always fishing the hard spots here. I'm going to skip the soft spot, skip the shallow stuff, and I'll work here where this ledge is. And you'll be a lot more productive if you fish that way. The other way you could fish it would be to get up here and get behind it. And so when all your buddies are sitting here pounding the bank line, you actually come up here and you swing out behind it and you actually start casting this way and retrieving it back in this way. I've seen that be very successful as well. You can come up here and get more parallel to the bank, but cast outward instead of casting inward. That works on Ray Hubbard as well. We're talking about Hubbard Creek here, but Ray Hubbard is my home lake. And there's spots on Ray Hubbard where that works really well. You get parallel with the bank and cast outwards instead of casting towards the bank. It's kind of awkward, but it's definitely something you could do here because you're casting out to the rock as opposed to, if you set up here, you're casting into very shallow rock. Here, you're casting into that deep rock. So just a couple different things to think about when you're out here fishing this lake. You've also got a ramp that's out here. You got some more rock that's down in this area. And then you've got the dam, and that's where we actually started at. We started right here in video 1 at the rock there. So that covers us for Hubbard Creek Reservoir. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more video for you guys on Hubbard Creek. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at it from a navionics side. I'm not going to put a lot of pins out there because I think we have this pretty well marked here. And I don't want to confuse you guys with additional pins just based on the contours. But I do want to take a look at it. So I'll come back one more video, probably be a short one, but we're just going to kind of look at it from a navionics standpoint and see what this lake looks like, kind of look at a little bit more depth, stuff like that, a little bit more detail from the contour perspective to see what we can find. But anyways, make sure to go out, check out my site, simplisticfishing.com. You can pick up all these waypoints for your graphs. You can just get it on an SD card where you plug it in and do the import, or I can email you the digital files, which is pretty much the same thing. You just take those files, put it on an SD card, and do the import yourself that way. So just a couple different ways you can get them. Simplisticfishing.com. Go check it out. And until next time, guys, I hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.